all of the day. So thank you all for joining us. It's really wonderful to have you here and interested in what's going on with us as an organization. Our hope is that today you learn a little bit about where we are, what's next for us as Girls Inc., what's going on at a national level as it pertains to our advocacy efforts, and then also here locally. We'll definitely have some time to hear from some of the girls during this call, as well as question and answer from you all at the end. So thank you all for being here and joining us. So I'm Kim Brown. I guess I should tell you who I am. I'm Kim Brown, the president and CEO of Girls Inc. of Santa Fe. I'm been with Girls Inc. for going on 15 years. I've been the CEO for the last 6.5. And I will say that this is definitely like the leadership moment of my life. I think there has never been another time that will test me as a leader like this. And if there's another time in the future, I can't even imagine. So hopefully that will not be the case. So I'm going to talk a little bit about where we are today. Before I do that, just who else you can see on the screen. We have Jennifer Billing. She is our advocacy coordinator. She's been working with us for the last 2.5 years to really start us off as an advocacy organization. We've primarily throughout our history only been a direct service organization. And so she's really worked hard to help us learn about what that is to be, help us create a roadmap on how to get there and create next steps for us. So she's been a huge asset of ours for the last 2.5 years. We have Lara Kaufman from Girls Inc. National, Director of, I'm sure I'm going to get this wrong, Advocacy and Public Policy. Awesome. Yes. Thank you. I did get it right. And she's joining us from DC today. So thank you, Lara, for joining us at 6 o'clock your time. Appreciate you giving us your time today. And we have Sarah Gmitter. Sarah Gmitter is our program coordinator, and she does a lot of work with our teens and our Teen Leadership Council. She was recently at a training with Girls Inc. National, actually January. It seems like it was recently because this whole spring has just been 1 month, I think. So it seems like it was recently, but I do know that that was January. So Sarah she's leading our Teen Leadership Council, and she's going to share a little bit about that with us today. So before we get started into kind of our advocacy stuff, I'm going to talk a little bit about where we are. So where are we as an organization? We're doing our best to stay strong, smart, and bold, be flexible and nimble, and change to the changing day and hour of almost every single day. But we're doing okay. We have had a strong organization for years, and it is our goal to stay that way. And so we're trying to take strong and smart and bold steps to continue to serve the community the best way that we can and the way that they need us to, as well as stay financially sound during this time. So I'm going to go through just a few highlights of that. But if I don't hit something you would like more information on, please ask a question or feel free to reach out to me anytime. We're going on closing out our 8th week of working from home. And it's going pretty well. I mean, it's going okay. I'm working in like an 800 square foot house. So my house is very small. So my family and I are becoming very intimate with one another. And that's okay. It's actually wonderful. So yeah, all of my staff have been working from home since March 16th is when we started. Luckily, for about 3 to 4 weeks before the pandemic really picked up in New Mexico, we started talking about what it would be like for us to work at home and how we would make that transition. So we had put some things in place that we were able to activate fairly quickly when it came down to things getting closed down, businesses getting closed down. So we went into virtual work at home on March 16th and have been doing that ever since. On March 23rd, 1 week later after that happened, right after spring break ended in Santa Fe, we started doing virtual programs. And a huge shout out and thanks to all my program team. They did such a great job of pivoting and making things available for the girls right away. We first started with doing just YouTube videos, shout outs to the girls, activities they could do at home. And we quickly then moved into Zoom conference meetings with the girls because we realized they really needed to stay connected with one another because they've been home for 8 weeks. In the last few weeks, we've brought on more and more of those girls from the public schools, and the public schools has been generous enough to plug us into their school days. So if we were with a group of girls at a certain school from 11 a.m. to noon, we're with them virtually from 11 a.m. to noon on a certain day. So right now we have 24 groups of girls going, over 300 girls meeting weekly, which is just really incredible. And just that the staff have pivoted so quickly has been amazing. And the girls are really appreciating the programs as much as they're getting really tired of being on the computer. They also, most of their other day is really tied up in academics and not the social aspect of communicating, doing fun activities, talking with friends, sharing what's going on with their life. And so that emotional, mental, physical support, social emotional learning is so key right now. And I think what we've learned as an organization is that that's just going to become more and more of a need for our young people, is that they're going to need that emotional and mental support and learning. So I'm really proud that we've been able to do that successfully. It's not been without its hiccups. There's definitely been hiccups, and it's not been without, making a plan and then revising that plan. But I'm lucky enough to have a great team that wants to serve the community the best they can. So that's our goal, is to serve the girls in Santa Fe and the surrounding areas as best as we can. That also includes one-on-one calls. So we're touching base with our girls that need more time and more just inputs and connection with one-on-one calls. And some of those girls have moved back to their pueblos, have moved to surrounding areas, and they're not in Santa Fe anymore. So it's been really interesting dynamic to kind of reach into the girls' homes and be connected with them in that way. So I don't know, it's been good, it's been challenging, and also it's been really meaningful. And I think what I've learned in this process is that more than ever, we need Girls Inc., and the girls that we serve need Girls Inc. Um, we had to make the difficult decision. We announced this week to our families, 130 families, that we will not be doing in-person summer camp. Unfortunately, it just does not seem like we can A, do that safely, and B, that we're going to be allowed to do that in the short term. So we know for sure we'll be doing virtual programs for the month of June. It looks like what we're planning is to do virtual programs for the whole summer. But if we can go back in person in any capacity, we're going to do that in whatever capacity we can. What that looks like is, of course, they're not going to go swimming and do activities and go on field trips in person, but they will meet once a day with a small group of girls in a call like this, that they'd be able to communicate and talk with one another. Sarah is doing a wonderful job of trying to set up field trips to zoos around the world and maybe to the Eiffel Tower and different things like that to bring in other connections for the girls to have these experiences. We're offering that free of charge. And so we do tuition on a sliding scale based on income for our programs, and we're returning all the funds that parents have paid so far. And we're in the process of making all those refunds because they need the money back in their accounts, really. And so we're making those adjustments. And we've had about a 55 to 60% of families are signing up for the virtual programming. So we know that not all 130 families will sign up. But then we also have a large pocket of girls to reach out to that were not originally signed up for summer camp or were on our wait list. So once we've given them that window of time to register, we'll keep registering other girls. We think we have the capacity right now with our current staffing to host about 120 girls virtually this summer. So, I feel good about it as much as it sucks. It's terrible, and it's a little traumatic to be going into my 16th summer with Girls Inc. and to not think about hearing the laughter every day, because the laughter is pretty magical. So one thing to kind of shift to is financially. We did apply early to the PPP loan, and we did receive one. We applied through Century Bank here locally, and a huge shout out to them for processing our loan in the first batch. I had my COO reach out to them about 2 weeks before the process started and said, "We're going to do this, so we want to be on your list." And then pretty much every day until the application came out, we were like, "Okay, we're submitting. Okay, what information do you need?" And we didn't wait around for anybody to tell us what to do. We just we kind of told them what we were doing. So we are lucky enough to receive just over $200,000 from the PPP loan. It is a loan. I know that there's a lot of talk out there about it being forgiven. Our loan won't be 100% forgiven because you have a certain window of time to spend those funds. So it will be, I would say, 90% forgiven, but not the whole thing will be. But it has allowed us to keep our staff in place, and will pay for our staff expenses through June 11th, which that I am forever thankful, because without that, we would be really scrambling. So our financial picture at Girls Inc. of Santa Fe is really a long-term one. We're going to do summer camp in this virtual way, and keep trying to do our best to fundraise. And the Santa Fe community has really shown up for us and for the girls. And so I know I have a big rock to lift up a hill to keep doing that fundraising through the rest of the summer and the fall to keep us moving forward. But at this point, we're doing okay. It's more about how we're going to be doing in July, how we're going to be doing in August. And that I'm really optimistic about, because the Santa Fe and our Girls Inc. family has really shown up. So while, we didn't have our gala in April, and definitely fundraising was down because of that, we are working really hard to meet the need and continue the programs. We also recognize that once we come back in the building and in-person programs, there's going to be things that we have to consider. Our girl to staff ratios. Many of you know we're in this old historic building. So we've been lucky enough to, we've been working with a contractor to put a little bit of work into the building. And so we're meeting with them to kind of retrofit the building to be most COVID responsive. So, automated paper towels and toilets, and trying to get doors that you don't have to push on. So everything that you have to touch, we're trying to eliminate as much as that as possible. And we've also formed a recovery and risk management committee that includes staff, board, and community members that are going to help us guide us through this process of what are the things that we need to consider, what are all of our risks, how can we negate those risks and move forward in a positive way. So yeah, that's mostly my big update. We're doing okay. Programs, just to highlight, programs I've seen a influx, and they're more needed than ever for the girls to be participating. Financially, we continue to make smart decisions, and it's a long-term problem that we're going to face now and see how the economy does. I'm sure everybody on this call is also kind of biting their nails about what might happen in the future. And a huge shout out to all of our people and all of our Girls Inc. family. I'm so appreciative for each and every one of you and what you've done to support us, from staff members to board members. The board and staff have done a great job of leading this organization right now, and I can't thank everyone enough. So I'm going to hand it off to Lara Kaufman from Girls Inc. National. Lara, I just appreciate you so much and your efforts at the national level to help guide us at the local affiliates, but also be just a strong partner in this work. And so thank you. And thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you. And really, thank you for having me. This is such a great event. And Girls Inc. of Santa Fe has been doing so much great advocacy work that we are, really proud to partner with you guys. So as Kim said, I am the Director of Public Policy for the national organization. As you may know, most of you, Girls Inc. of Santa Fe is part of a national network of 79 Girls Inc. affiliates that serve girls in the US and Canada. And the national organization really exists to serve the local organizations and make sure that they can do what they do very well, which is work with girls and inspire them to be strong, smart, and bold. We have a very small public policy team, small but mighty, I like to say, based in Washington, D.C., and we work on a number of things. We do federal advocacy in D.C. on behalf of girls on the issues that matter to girls. We advocate with Congress, federal agencies, sometimes with the White House, and we represent Girls Inc. on a number of national coalitions, including coalitions focused on girls' education, on civil rights more generally, on sex education, on trauma and school discipline reform, many different tables we sit at where we represent the organization and the girls that we all serve. We developed a network-wide policy and advocacy platform in 2017 and started a national teen advocacy council. We we also try to really support the work that our affiliates do. And that's, something that we are doing more and more of. We really want to build the capacity of our affiliates to do advocacy work. Not all of our affiliates are as savvy as our Girls Inc. of Santa Fe affiliate. And we try to provide as many resources as possible. So we provide advocacy updates regularly when things come up that affect girls. We send out action alerts that we hope that our affiliates can share with their audiences on issues that matter to girls. We share with our affiliates when there are opportunities to sign on to letters, organizational letters on different issues. We provide resources like fact sheets, an advocacy handbook, sample messaging for social media sometimes. And we try to provide some training, some technical assistance, and some strategic support. Now, we only have 3 people on our team, including me. So I don't want to oversell what we're able to do, but we do encourage our affiliates to reach out to us with questions if they have advocacy ideas, projects they want to do with their girls, if they need help, developing testimony that they want to deliver before their city council or something like that. We do try to help with things like that. And now we have a state and local advocacy manager on our staff who is going to be particularly focused on helping to support our affiliates and their engagement in advocacy. But really, there's a wide spectrum. Some of our affiliates have never done this work before. Some of our affiliates are really well seasoned at this. And so we're trying to get a sense of where everybody is and how we can best target our support. In terms of our focus, advocacy-wise, our current focus has been very much responding to COVID-19. So we have advocated on a lot of the COVID-19 relief packages that Congress has put forward. As Kim referred to the Paycheck Protection Program, the SBA loans, we worked a lot with nonprofit partners on ensuring that nonprofits would have access to those loans. And we are also trying to expand the charitable giving deduction to incentivize giving to nonprofits. There's some other things we're still trying to advocate for with nonprofit organizations. We have quite a strong coalition, and we really, I think, have been able to positively influence the process so that many more nonprofit organizations are getting those loans than otherwise would. We're also collaborating with other allies to ensure that the stimulus packages include things that we know students, families, and underserved communities need. And that includes things like expansion of SNAP benefits and greater flexibility for school meals programs, advocating for measures that would increase access for students to internet connectivity and other technology that they need to participate in school and in programming like Girls Inc. We've been advocating for the rights of immigrant youth and DACA recipients. We've advocated for increased support for survivors of domestic violence, et cetera, et cetera. There's a long list. Unfortunately, there's no shortage of need right now. The communities we serve need advocacy even more than they did before. And so we're trying to be as responsive as possible. Another way we're pivoting in light of the COVID-19 crisis is that we're focusing even more on mental health. Some of you may know that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. In fact, I think today is National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day. But a lot of experts have been talking about the second pandemic resulting from the COVID-19 and the aftermath. And that second pandemic is mental illness. We know that there are kids who are stuck at home in unsafe situations as a result of this crisis. They can't leave. There's people who are losing family members to the virus. Lots of people have lost work, of course, social isolation issues, lack of access to medical care, and all of that is unfortunately increasing risk for mental illness. And I think we've barely begun to see how that's going to play out. And so what we're doing at National is starting to think about how we can focus more on increasing access for youth in underserved communities to mental health treatment and to trauma-informed care. And that's something we're really concerned about. And we are now working on figuring out what would be a good legislative agenda for that at the federal level. And then we'll be in communication with affiliates as well about ideas for working on that in the state, at the state and local level. I wanted to also update you all on Girls Too. The campaign we launched a year and a half ago focused on sexual harassment and sexual violence among youth, in part because we're pivoting to focus more on mental health directly. We may not be doing as much work this year on sexual harassment and violence. However, just yesterday, the Department of Education issued final Title IX regulations focused on schools' responsibility to address sexual harassment and sexual violence. Those regulations have been in the works for about 3 years. And unfortunately, the Department of Education chose to issue them when we're in the middle of this pandemic. We would prefer that they focus on helping schools adjust to the times we're in and ensure that students can continue to learn. But in fact, there were a number of organizations, including Girls Inc., that requested that they not issue any new regulations during this time, and instead postpone it till after the public health emergency. But in any event, the regulations that were issued are going to make it much harder for students to get their schools to take appropriate action in response to complaints of sexual harassment. And it's unfortunate at a time when the world, in the last couple of years, has really just started to recognize the pervasiveness of sexual harassment and sexual violence. We did weigh in on the proposed regulations, as did a number of our affiliates and girls. And I think because of our collective advocacy, some positive changes were made between the proposed regulations and the final regulations. But on balance, these regulations are still going to make it harder for survivors to get justice, which means that they might be less likely to report incidences of sexual harassment, which means schools will be less safe. And there are, we just sent out an email to our affiliates about this with talking points. We are actively following developments on this. A lot of organizations are going to sue the Department of Education to try to keep these regulations from going into effect. And they are scheduled to go into effect on August 14th, but there's already been a lot of opposition by school systems that are saying, how do you expect us to implement these by August 14th when we're not even in school right now? And this is a major change. So we'll see, but we'll keep the affiliates updated, and we'll make sure that everybody knows when there are opportunities to take action on this. This week is Girls Inc. Week. Which is a week when all of our affiliates are doing programming and messaging around a common theme. And the theme this year is civic engagement, which is why I think Girls Inc. of Santa Fe is hosting this fantastic event about girls leadership and girls advocacy. We have been focusing on the importance of giving girls opportunities to lead and making sure they have an opportunity to impact their communities, including through census outreach and voter registration and voter turnout efforts. We have an advocacy alert that we will be sending out next week about voting, and it's going to encourage our supporters to take action, reach out to their members of Congress, and encourage Congress in the next COVID-19 relief package, which we expect will come at the end of May, to include $4 billion for states to implement reforms that will help ensure a fair and safe election for everyone this fall. So that would include things like making sure everybody can register to vote online. Unfortunately, only 39 states provide that option right now. Also expanding early in-person voting options so more people can go to vote in person if they prefer to do that, but do so without putting their health at risk. And also offering a mail-in voting option for everybody who wants to vote by mail. So those are things we're pushing Congress to fund, because we know if states don't get federal money to do those things, many of them will not be able to do so. And we think it's just so important. I mean, we need high turnout in this election to ensure that our democracy is as strong as possible. And we need to make sure that that there's support for that. So that's what's keeping us busy at Girls Inc. National.
That's it.
And in DC.
That's all you got going on.
That's all for today. But I really, really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all. I'd love to take questions. And again, we're so impressed by the advocacy work that Girls Inc. of Santa Fe does, and inspired by you, and just really proud to partner with you. So thank you. And I'll turn it back to you, Kim.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And what I appreciate about the national organization is you guys definitely lead with the girls' voices. And so You've done a great job of surveying girls around the nation and really doing investigative work on what are the issues that girls care about, and then how can we uplift their voices and not just be adults talking on behalf of girls. So I really appreciate that leadership at the national level. We're going to turn it over to Jennifer now to kind of walk us through what's been happening here locally on the advocacy front, and hear from some girls.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Lara, for being with us. So mine is going to be a team effort here. Sarah is going to help out, and then we have Leela and Izzy, who are two of our teen girls on the Teen Leadership Council, waiting in the wings to chime in here. We're going to start with a little poll for you. Kim's going to put that up, and let us know. There we go. What Girls Inc. advocacy activities have you participated in? So I know some of you have done more than one of these.
I'm going to give it a couple more seconds and then I'll end the poll. So make your voting now if you haven't. All right.
Wow. That's pretty good. Lots of attendance at our candidate forum, which is awesome. Of course, we're going to talk about that. So let me switch over. I have some slides, which are mostly photos for you to enjoy, but it's just going to be a little bit of a guide for us here as we tell you a little bit about what we've been up to. So we see Leela right here on the right side. She's one of the girls that's joining us today, along with Ruby. Both of them are on our Teen Advocacy Council. So going back, one of our first advocacy activities was at the end of 2018 in December. Lara and her team had launched Girls 2, and we did a local launch here in December. And so it was a great chance for us to engage our community partners and local public officials. We did a press conference. Mayor Weber was there, Councilmember Villarreal, Kate Noble, who's now president of the school board, our superintendent of schools. And on the end there, that is a woman from Solace who joined us. They're one of our close community partners. And so that was our first event. It went super well from a media coverage standpoint. We got both television and local press on that event. And the Girls 2 theme is something that we've continued to pull through our advocacy work. It's been a topic that the girls have worked with in small discussions that we've had weaving through our summer program. And we're going to come back to the issue this year in 2020. And the girls will tell you more about that in a few minutes. So then we had a really strong presence at the Women's March. Kim gave a rousing speech that brought the house down on the plaza.
Really?
And that was in 2019. Of course, there was also one in 2020. We've had two annual days at the Roundhouse. So this was one of the big things that we wanted to get up and running with our new advocacy program. So the first year we did it big. It was a long session here, which means we had 2 months at the Roundhouse. We did a march over to the Roundhouse from our Hillside location. Everybody made signs, and we got lots of attention marching over there from people passing by. We met with the governor. We also, just by happenstance, had a meeting with Congresswoman Deb Haaland at this visit to the Roundhouse. And then this year, both years, we've had a legislative agenda that we have been pursuing. One of the key things we were working on this year was to win capital outlay funding for new vans in partnership with the city of Santa Fe, because the funding has to flow through the city. We were successful in getting $160,000 in capital outlay funding. And we're hoping that's going to be enough for 2 vans. And I want to bring in Leela here. She's a member of our Teen Advocacy Council. She goes to the New Mexico School of the Arts. She was with us for our day at the Roundhouse. And Leela, would you talk a little bit about your experience? lobbying this
Yeah.
year?
So in around January, I think it was like early January. I don't know. It was kind of cold outside still, but we went to the Roundhouse with a lot of volunteers and girls, and we were asking for people to sign papers for these new vans so we could get the money so we could get the new vans for all the girls and stuff like that. Some of us met with Andrea Romero, and we had a really cool conversation with her about like what it's like for her to be in the Capitol and working there, and like what plans she has. We like ran around the Roundhouse looking for everyone, and we just yeah,
Literally ran around the roundhouse.
yes. And yeah, I mean, we were just getting people's signatures, specific people, and it was pretty fun. And we got the money so we can get vans. So
It was pretty cool. It went well, and we even pulled some legislators off of the House and Senate floor so that we could talk to them. And so that was this year. Next year, of course, we'll go back into a long session. Well, first, though, let me not forget that there'll be a special session in June. So we have to see how that shapes up. We're part of a statewide coalition of women's organizations. So to some degree, we'll be looking at what their agenda is, and then we're going to see what the governor and the legislative leaders put on the agenda for the special session, which we're hearing is going to start June 15th.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if they keep our funding for the vans in the budget revision, or if we lose that funding, which I think is probably very possible, given this
Definitely
situation
possible.
we're in.
It's
also
possible it's on its way to the city, which would mean that we were good, but we'll find out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Next, we want to talk a little bit about one of the things we've been doing is really working hard. And Sarah Gamitter has been my key partner on this, helping to weave advocacy programming through all of the programs that we have with the girls. So we do it with the younger girls and we do it with the older girls. Here you see a photo of our summer program last year. Counselor Villarreal came to speak to them about things that she was working on. And we had several other women who work in the advocacy arena come and speak to the girls. We've had lawyers, we've had community organizers, public officials, and many others come and talk to the girls about their work. Hopefully it will inspire a few of them at least to go into public policy or advocacy in some way. And I want to turn it over to Sarah because she's done some additional training this year and is taking this work even further this year. And so I want to let her tell you about that.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. Hello, everyone. That's Jennifer helpfully circled my tiny head in that picture. In January, in the before times, I went to a training at the National Resource Center in Indianapolis, and it was a training in a new advocacy toolkit called Taking Action. It's huge. It is a toolkit designed for girls 15 to 18 years old to help them to choose, plan, and execute a community action project that's related to healthy sexuality. And the whole intention behind the toolkit is that it is girl-led. And so the plan had been to work with a group of girls that we work with at the Santa Fe Indian School called the Brave Girls, and to implement this toolkit with them. So to work with them, to help them to choose a project, plan it, and implement it. Unfortunately, we only were able to have 2 meetings before the school shut down this year, but we are planning and hoping, depending on what the situation is in the fall, to resume that work with them. In the meantime, once the Santa Fe Indian School had closed, all of the girls that we work with in Brave Girls are students who are part of the boarding program. So they went back to their pueblos. And it's been harder for us to reach them, but the girls did reach out and say that they would love to do whatever they can on their own. And so we put together, using resources from the toolkit, we put together just some resources on information about the different topics that are available to us to do a project on, so that they could do some research on their own, so that when we are all back together in the fall, we'll be just that little bit more ahead as far as their kind of knowledge base as we move forward into choosing a project. I have been able to use the toolkit with our Teen Leadership Council. About once a week, I choose an activity from the toolkit, adapt it for a virtual setting, and work on that with the girls. And we have, Leela is going to be talking about the project that the Teen Leadership Council is going to be working on in the future, but we're using the toolkit to help kind of inform and guide our process with this project that we're working on in the future. We have continued to meet with the Teen Leadership Council, the girls who planned the forum. We've been meeting with them regularly twice a week since we moved to virtual programs, and we're going to continue to meet with them for as long as possible. So that's the Taking Action toolkit that we've been, it's brand new, and it's been really exciting to have that as a resource to work with the girls.
Awesome, thank you, Sarah. So one of the other programs or projects that the girls were able to do last summer is they kind of did a pilot of this action project idea that Sarah was talking about with Becky Calhoun and the other facilitators who worked in the summer program. And the girls chose the issue. They decided that they wanted to try to get the crosswalk that had been right in front of our Hillside center across Paseo de Peralta. It's actually across Hillside Avenue there, right as you come around the corner on Paseo, to get the crosswalk put back, because there'd been one there some years ago, and for whatever reason it disappeared, and our girls and their facilitators are crossing at that intersection often, and they thought it would be a benefit to everyone's safety to have it put back. So they did a bunch of research. This picture in the upper right-hand corner here is them visiting local businesses and other neighbors who are close to the Hillside Center to get their signature on a petition that they created to get the crosswalk back. And then the girls did a presentation of all of their work. They had maps and all of the data that they had collected for the younger girls. So that's what you see in this lower photo. And we were able to pull in some of our local public officials. Counselor Sig Lindell, who's been a longtime friend of Girls Inc., attended, as did the City Public Works Director, Regina Wheeler. And so what was really awesome about this is the girls actually got to see the fruits of their effort, because Regina went back to her office and her team and told them they needed to repaint the crosswalk. So in this case, the advocacy was effective. And the remedy was swift, which we know doesn't always happen, but did happen in this case, which was pretty cool. And
it's just a small example of like how teaching them, and then they taught the younger girls that you can do research, put a team together, and make change happen. And I think it's a great small example of how that can also reflect into a bigger environment.
Yeah. Exactly. And we just learned recently that the story of this project is going to be featured in the national trade publication After School Today. So that will be in their summer issue. So that's kind of a little added benefit. The girls are getting some publicity for this effort. This fall, again, through kind of connecting in the community deeper and deeper, the girls got to meet Gloria Steinem, thanks to the Academy for the Love of Learning, who invited a group of girls to attend. And I'd like to bring in Izzy to talk a little bit about that experience and what it was like to meet Gloria Steinem.
Hi. So first of all, when I told my parents I was going to see Gloria Steinem talk, not only were they excited, but they were really jealous. So it was great to see a woman advocator speak about like her life and issues she had to go through. And it was also, we also got to ask her questions. And one question that my friend Levy, who was in the red wearing the sweater, she actually talked about how young people need to be leaders now that we're grown up, and we need to take charge of the world because we're going to be living in it someday, and we need to be leaders. And so not necessarily that the older generations need to push back, but we need to work together and influence each other and talk to each other so we can live in this world and so we can make it a better place.
Great. Thanks, Izzy. Yeah, it was a pretty cool experience for me and for them to get to meet
Steinem. Before we move on, I just want to do a shout out to Izzy in front of everybody. Today was Izzy's last day of high school. And so she turned in her final project, and congratulations on graduating high school. And she's off to Colorado University, right?
Colorado State University.
Yeah, Colorado State. Well, depending on what happens in the world in several months, but congratulations, Izzy. That's you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks, Izzy. So, and then a lot of you said you were at the Girls Inc. Candidate Forum, which really turned out to be an awesome event. We had several hundred people there. We invited all the candidates who were running, both Republicans and Democrats. We ultimately had 8 candidates who showed up. And let's see, Izzy, I think I got one more slide here before I come back to you. Oh, and we got great press coverage. The New Mexican wrote about it before and wrote about it after. We got some national coverage because the Associated Press reporter was there, and there was a question that the girls asked the candidates about their superpowers that was not your typical candidate forum question. I want to show you a little clip here from the forum in case you didn't see it, and then Izzy's going to tell you about all the work that went into it. So let me just switch.
And just while we wait for Jennifer, if you guys have any questions, please be sure to put them in the chat, or if you want to talk at some point when we get to the question and answer section, please let us know and we'll be sure to unmute you so you can do that.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you, candidates, for joining us here tonight. We all have a lot to think about. Our Teen Advocacy Council worked hard to develop this forum and be thoughtful of who was going to be in this room this evening. We developed questions that focused on what is important to us young people and recognized what was most important to us through this process. We learned that the adults around us need to listen more to the youth, and that's not just the adults we interact with every day. It's our elected officials, our government. We are your future. It is your responsibility to listen critically and closely, and then to take action. If you do, you will learn newer things and expand the range of solutions to issues that we all face today. Tonight, we addressed issues such as the teacher shortage, limited sexual health education, gun control and school safety, environmental concerns, the increasing struggle of small family farms, and the precarious nature of reproductive rights. All of these topics are directly linked to the daunting statistics of New Mexico. You all have a responsibility in representing all of our voices. We are entrusting you with the safety and security of our futures. Thank you.
So that was Indira closing out the forum, but the person who opened the forum was Izzy. So Izzy, do you want to tell us a little bit about what it was like to work on this project from your perspective?
It was great to work on the project because there are so many benefits. We were able to meet the candidates that were running for our Congress and to learn about what policies they held and what values they upheld also, and who we wanted to see in Congress. And it was, I don't know if everyone there went, but also a lot of the younger girls of Girls Inc. attended. So it was great for them to learn about politics and to see what issues are going on in the world. And this experience allowed the Teen Leadership Council to become more of a leader, and also to learn what factors go into planning a forum. There's a lot of planning, and it took, I think, a few months to plan this. We met every other week to plan this, but until January, the month where we had the forum, we met every week then, and we did research on what a forum was, what went into it, like everything, like, oh, there be water, food, seating, And we also researched the candidates who might show up and who was going to be there. And we researched their policies, and we also created the questions. And it was great to finally voice our concerns. My question was about the environment and plastic. So it was really great to have my voice heard.
Great. Thank you, Izzy. Yeah, they worked so hard on this. All the hard work really paid off. It went.
Yeah, they did such a good job. And afterwards, I talked with Madonna because I was sick and wasn't able to be there. And so I talked with Madonna. She said, well, it was a success, especially because all the girls in the Teen Leadership Council came running up to me afterwards and said, what's our next project? So I feel like that is like the biggest success, not only, having people in the room and having the issues heard, but them also interested in what they can do next. So pretty awesome.
Yeah. Which we're going to tell you about in a few minutes. If you didn't see the candidate forum, it is on our Girls Inc. of Santa Fe YouTube channel. And it's great timing because you're about to have to vote if you're in Santa Fe, well, anywhere in New Mexico, right, in our June primary. So it is still there on the YouTube channel for you to see in its entirety if you're interested.
Yeah, and I had many people tell me that they changed who they were going to vote on after they saw our forum. So definitely check it out.
That's great. So now we want to move on to what we're doing next. And Leela's going to come back and tell you about this funny word, Safe Bay, and what it's all about, and an upcoming event we're working towards for October.
Yeah, so Safe Bay is an organization. They first started off in Maine. It's like co-founded by some sexual assault survivors. It's based on the Netflix documentary Audrey and Daisy. Daisy is also one of the co-founders. They had their first summit in Maine. So what they do is they have a consent summit for teenagers. Like in Maine, they served over 1,000 teenagers in one day and taught them about consent, dating violence, relationships, just like everything. Like know before you nude, like sending nudes. They have so many things that they teach you about. And they have like celebrities that can even come in and like teach you. And so New Mexico is going to host a summit hopefully in October if we are able to, if the world's getting back to normal, hopefully. So that would be at the convention center. And we're hoping to serve as many teens as possible in New Mexico, at least in Santa Fe and maybe some surrounding areas. We're gonna teach teens about, gun violence, about consent, obviously, about relationships, it's just about everything. And so Girls Inc. is helping plan, and the Teen Leadership Council is helping plan this. We've been like meeting with Shale Norris, who is like one of the main people of the entire organization and also in Maine. And we're meeting with Cecile, who is helping plan it in New Mexico. And I think on Tuesday, we have another meeting with everyone, with organizations like Solace and Planned Parenthood and just a lot of people in New Mexico. And yeah, so the Teen Leadership Council is helping plan it. We're pretty much at this point, the whole teens that are planning it, because they were hoping to have other people, but there's not too many other people from other schools. So it's pretty much just us. But yeah, I think it's going to be really amazing if we can pull it off. And what they promote is really important and amazing. So.
Yeah, I think there probably will be a few more kids joining you. It's going to be a summit that includes girls and boys. We're hoping to get a couple boys on the planning committee, but Leela and Izzy and the other students who are involved will be putting on the whole thing, deciding what the workshops are going to be, looking for volunteers, working on media and all the publicity. So the national organization just did a virtual summit, which was great. I think if you go to the Safe Bay website, you can still see what the agenda was for that. And so they kind of piloted the virtual version if we need to do that. But we're really hoping that we will be at the convention center in person on October 1st. So we'll see. And then just a couple of things to close. Of course, it is a big election year. Girls Inc. has its She Votes program, which comes back every couple of years when we have major elections. And so all of the girls, from the younger girls up to the teens, will be participating in the She Votes program, learning about elections, learning about candidates. And usually that involves a mock election that we do at the Hillside Center. So we'll have to wait and see if that can happen in the normal way or whether or not there has to be some accommodation there. So that's coming up. And of course, we want to remind you to request your absentee ballot. If you haven't, you can do that through the New Mexico Secretary of State's website. It can still be mailed to you in time for the June primary election. You just have to have it back before the election, on time, postmarked. And then also want to remind you about the 2020 census. It's critically important to New Mexico that everybody participate in the census. Please spread the word about it. And we want to make sure as many people are counted as possible. That, of course, has gotten complicated by the pandemic because people were going to go door to door. So anything you can do to help make sure that people are filling out their census information. So we want to check in with you. How are you planning to vote in the June 2020 primary election? You can still vote in person. You can vote by mail. And we certainly hope you're not planning to vote, but you can check that one if you must. And then, have you completed your census form? You can do it online or you can do it on paper. It was probably mailed to you. If you're like,
and
me,
I think
mailed to you multiple times.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things. If you don't fill it out, you're gonna have someone knock on your door. So fill it out so that you don't have someone knocking on your door and you're like, I need a face mask to answer my door. So fill it out. It took me probably about 10 or 15 minutes to fill it out. I'm gonna share the results. There we go. Looks like most people are planning on.
I hope that was only Lisa that doesn't plan to vote because she's not old enough, but.
Yeah, it was me. It was me. Okay, good. I would vote if I could, I promise.
All right. I do think we have Chris that's raising her hand. Chris, Jennifer, will you stop sharing your screen for a second? And then
Yes, I will.
See if I can figure out how to. Chris, do you want me to have you be able to talk? Let me see how I do this. All right. You know, Sarah, I should have just asked you to do it. You're probably like, I know how to do it. Why don't you invite Chris to talk?
And I didn't raise my hand,
but
since I have the floor, I want to compliment all of you on what a great review and a great advance notification about what we're up to. I'm really, really impressed with all of you wonderful women.
Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Does anybody else have any questions? Or
yeah, we've got a few more. If you look at the attendees list, Kim, okay. Phyllis, Marianne, Carolyn.
All right. Marianne, I think you're up. Let's see. There we go. You just got to unmute yourself, Marianne. Let me try. I can unmute you. Maybe I
actually didn't mean to. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, so I said I didn't mean to raise my hand, but since I did by accident, I have to say that, you know, these are really hard times and things just tend to touch your heart in ways that are deeper maybe than they usually are. And listening to all of you and, you know, all six of you presenting on challenges and what you're doing, and it actually caused me to sort of tear up and I just felt this really amazing sense of pride in all of you and all of our New Mexico women and our guests from Washington. So anyway, that's that. My hand is down.
Well, thank you, Marianne. I appreciate your kind words. And, I feel like the future is female. And if you see what's happening across the world on cities and countries that are being led by women, that they are faring much better in these times. And so, the more young people that we can create as leaders and give their voice a platform, the better, for sure. All right.
And Kim, there's a question here from Elizabeth Allen asking, is there anything we can do to hold on to van funding? Elizabeth, I will let you know. I think we don't know yet. I'm guessing either there won't be any more cuts to capital outlay, or the cut might be pretty deep and there might not be anything we can do. But as we get more information about what's likely to happen, we will let you know if phone calls or anything like that will help. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Caroline. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't say anything more eloquently than my friend and colleague Marianne just said with regard to everything that you're doing. It does warm my heart to just actually be a part of this, to hear all of the things that you have been doing. And I guess part of it is, how do we let more people know? I mean, is there stuff that we, as the audience here today, could be doing to, sing your praises? Obviously we do in our own ways and all that kind of stuff on a regular basis, but to really be able to capture, the amazing things that you put together to share with us today, just in this venue, this forum. It's like, how do we make the audience larger,
right?
So that we can increase the clearly increase the potential for donations, clearly increase the individuals who would want to participate or could help in spreading the word and so on. And I think that any way that you can, help us know how to do that for you, with you, would be something that would be good from my perspective. Certainly sitting here wondering, how do you contribute? How can we, our energies be best used for all of you, and of course all the girls that you are serving? And I am grateful to be a part of the Girls Inc. family, and thank you all.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being part of our family. I think there's a lot of ways. I think continuing to share our message. I think part of what we do is grassroots movements, and we also try to do bigger movements of creating a bigger, more people talking. So it's definitely like the age-old problem of, how do you get the word out to people that aren't going to click on your email or aren't going to see the things that you send out. So I wrote down for myself is, how can we give more and provide more information to people like yourself that want to help us share the message? So instead of just asking you to share what we've already posted, creating some sort of tools for you to then be able to share things that you feel like are pertinent to the people that are in your life, is something we can definitely put some energy into. So thank you for the prompt. That is definitely helpful. And we've been sending out lots of emails. We're going to be sending out a mailing about like what's the status of Girls Inc. and how we're doing. And I think, we're doing our best. And I think one of the things, we have an internal committee that's going to be talking a little bit about messaging and communication and marketing and branding, long-term and short-term. So I think you'll see some things coming up, but thank you for the question.
Well, and just one thing to add to that, when you do, we've really been growing our profile in the Santa Fe community over the last couple of years. And so know that when we ask you to take action, right, by calling your legislator, whether it's someone in Congress, because Lara has given us a heads up, or whether we're asking you to contact someone locally, you are helping to raise our profile when you do that, right? When you call and say, I'm a citizen in the community and I learned from Girls Inc. that this is happening and I want to voice my opinion, that actually helps us. And the more that we are in front of public officials, the better that sets us up for funding. One of the things that Kim and I are focused on this year is and things have changed now radically in the past several weeks, but it has been building relationships in state government to look for more public funding avenues for Girls Inc. And so there are some opportunities upcoming with the new outdoor fund and the conservation corps. So those are things that we're looking at this year. But every time you take action and reach out on our behalf, you're also helping to raise our profile in the community, and that all adds up over time.
And Phyllis Subin had a follow-up question to Lara. So I'm going to pop you up here, Phyllis. I hope that's what works.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Phyllis, we can hear.
Okay, great.
Nice to have you here.
Hi, thanks. This is a point that Lara raised, and that concerns the new Betsy Boss regulations under Title IX concerning sexual harassment, sexual assault hearings. One of the things that occurred to me was that couldn't the national assist local affiliates in putting out policy points and suggestions for how to better drive implementation policies on behalf of girls and women at the state and local level? Because state departments of education, school boards, or whether or not you get a federal injunction against the regulations, are still going to be moving forward and planning. And I think this is an important issue for Girls Inc. to protect girls in these institutional settings when the DeVos regulations allow the accused to have so much more due process. So what can the national do to provide some of those talking points for us in Santa Fe to then take to the school boards, to the Department of Education, and to advocate for better policies and state regulation for girls?
It's a great question, and it's something we've been giving a lot of thought to, and we are actually hoping to at least put together some resources so that affiliates can work with girls to, even at the school level, to ask their schools to do the right thing and continue to ensure that survivors are supported and that they can seek justice, and that there's no reason that especially because we think these rules are going to be overturned because we think they're not legal. We think that schools should be really cautious before implementing these rules because they might have to change their rules back when these get overturned. So we are working on messages that people could share with states, departments of ed, school districts, and maybe even at the school level, saying, you don't have to do this. Proceed with caution because it's going to make schools less safe. And I think there's a lot of support for that at the state and local level because there were a lot of education organizations that strongly objected to these regulations when they were proposed. Right. And those folks are not happy that these were just issued. So hopefully there will be some alignment and we'll be able to get some strong support. But it's an excellent suggestion and it's something we've been thinking about and we'll definitely try to move forward with as we get more information.
We're also hoping there's going to be a policy component of the Safe Base Summit that comes out of that one of the things that will happen at that summit, whether it's in person or virtual, is that the students will identify some policy changes that are maybe needed locally, whether it's at the school district, the local government or the state level, and that then this group of students that comes together will mobilize to change policies related to sexual assault and sexual harassment here in New Mexico.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Phyllis. I think that's all the questions we've had so far. And if anybody has any questions, please throw it up in the chat box or in the Q&A and we'll answer them. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Lara, Jennifer, to Izzy and Leela and Sarah. You guys are amazing and we couldn't do the work without you all. And so thank you for joining us. And a huge thank you to all of you at home that have joined us. I guess we're all at home, but thank you for joining us. It means a lot that you gave us your time and that you're here with us. And I think one of the things that I'm hearing as kind of a theme, not only part of our call, but also what's happening in the world today with COVID is that, so often we feel like leadership comes from the top and then everybody below follows. But what's happening right now is, they're saying at the top, oh, you can open up your states, and locally they're saying, no, that's not happening. And I think that more and more we're going to be listening to the youth of today and to these girls' voices when we're making decisions. And so I think the time is now to change, and it's going to be, as much as these times are really difficult and everybody, I know we're all in the same storm, but everybody is in a different boat, is what we've been saying at Girls Inc. is the storm is all the same, but everybody's boats are very different. And so I'm hopeful at the end of this storm that we'll all come out stronger, smarter and bolder, and ready to take on the next challenge and support these girls as best we can. So thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we recorded this tonight, so you're welcome to share it with the people that you know. You could always clip out a certain section and say, this is the part you should really listen to. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. And I'm going to end the meeting now. So have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.